It's Tuesday evening, it's 9 o'clock, and as you can see on the station, I say disappointment. But that means that it's just myself this evening here at the Silverstone circuit for the latest round of the RTA Virtual Motorsports Porsche Cup Series. And before I go any further, I think everyone's thoughts this week are with Brandon McGahan on the unexpected death of her mother, Susie. Brandon and his brother Dylan and his sisters Patricia and Ronald, and of course his dad John as well. Very sad, very sad thing to find out about during the week, and obviously all of our thoughts this week are with Brandon, who is our championship leader, but of course will be completely understandably taking the week off this week. And of course, as I said, I'm sure I know that all the lads in the Discord have said it as well, but just our thoughts, of course, to Brandon and all of their family on such a tragic circumstance. And yeah, I suppose we just want to send him and them all of our love and support in the next couple of weeks. And I suppose there's no better community than RTA and indeed those guys who are involved in the ICCR to help pull around each other and to rally together. So just wanted to give all of our thoughts to them on the tragic passing of Susie on Sunday night. So look, I suppose speaking of the championship, there is our standings after round 3, the Daytona Roval, where we saw a bit of a redemption for Dylan McClemens. He's in second at the moment with 15 penalties, thanks to his ongoing battle with a karting Supreme. I'm trying to find his name here, but he's had a couple of run-ins with our only American on the grid. That's Nicky Charlier. There he is, Nicky in the car number 20. So he is in 4th position behind Conor Melia. Then we have Jordan Kelly in 5th, Rory O'Shea in 6th, Camto Chukwa in 7th, Jan Zoutvela in 8th, Harvey Dara in 9th, and Jack Wynn, who picked up a race win, of course, in the opening round of the season. I do believe he is on 15 penalties on 131 points. We always talk about the chat, but particularly need your assistance this evening, given that I'm flying solo. So want to just have a good old chat with people back and forward. We'll be definitely taking your thoughts. In lieu of a co-commentator, I'll be needing you guys to provide your thoughts and your analysis over the course of this evening at the GP circuit here at Silverstone. We're going to get right to the action very, very shortly as qualifying gets underway. Thanks to Flea McBaggins, one of the Potato Nation, who joins us. Niall Doherty as well, saying his thoughts are with Brandon and family and friends, of course. And Emerald Car Shots Photography saying good evening, gents. A very good evening, and it seems to have dried up a little bit as we head out for qualifying. I'm hoping we'll be given the opportunity now to have a look at where we were last week and where we're getting to this week, because we've taken quite a journey from the state of Florida on the east coast of the United States right over to Silverstone. This is an iconic track, this GT circuit, of course. The very first Formula 1 race took place here, 5.891 kilometers, 18 turns, with a race lap record of 1:27.097 for Max Verstappen in the Red Bull RB16 2020. Certainly not 2026's Red Bull edition, I can tell you that much. But this, of course, is the new layout in which the first corner is Aintree, and then you head into the loop in Village before you head down. It's a different to the usual corners we've seen in terms of normally it would head to. Oh, sorry, no, I'm wrong in saying that. It heads down to Hamilton Straight and then Abbey and then Curve and then Village and then we have the loop and all that kind of stuff. So as we said, Grand Prix track layout, 5.891 kilometers. 17 degrees track temp with a Porsche Cup record of 203.001. I must have a look at that Porsche Cup record, but I do believe that was held by Jules Gounon. But I'm just going to double check that for you. No, it's Julian Andlauer actually, who picked that up in the 2019 Silverstone Porsche Super Cup Award. Of course, Julian is currently racing for Porsche Penske Motorsport in WEC and indeed in IMSA. So, plenty of rain here, as you can see. Showers 18 degrees, low track temperature as well. So, this is our first wet round of the series, and it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys get on with dealing with these Porsche Cup cars. Of course, as we said, a newly updated Porsche Cup cars, as we can have a look there at Dylan McClements. He's starting to warm the tyres as Conor Melia barrels in behind him. It's the 88 of McClements, followed by the 47 of Sean McClements. So the two McClements brothers working together, and fair play to Sean. He had a great result over the weekend. 2 first-place finishes, the first by quite some distance in the opening round of the ICCR Kirkstown in the Formula V series, and of course plenty of Formula V action coming up, of course, this season. Remember, we have the small matter, the not so small matter of 4 of these drivers taking their place on the real world, or 3 of these drivers, should I say, taking their place on the real world grid for the coming season. We have a couple of real-world drivers as well. Travis Mawini isn't joining us for this series, but we do have Kamto Chukwa and, of course, my brain has just gone for Jack Wynn, who I mentioned earlier, who's picked up in 3rd place. My brain just went fuzzy there. Thanks to Ronan, of course, in the background. Ronan's going to be... I'm going to be leaning on Ronan Hedeman a bit this evening because I'm doing all the work here without Evan, and normally Evan steps in and my brain goes fuzzy, but I'm going to need Ronan in the background keeping me up to date, or just jogging my memory there as we head around this Silverstone circuit. So yeah, wet race, 3 wet races we are anticipating. Dry weather at home today, thank God, but wet weather expected for the Easter weekend, unfortunately. And I'm sure these guys are well used to racing in the wet as well at Kirkstown over the weekend. Phelan Pritchard Gaming says he is English, he just doesn't like to admit it. I presume that's Nicky Charlie you're talking about. And Jay Peso says a wet race. Can't wait. Yeah, we can't wait either. The wet weather system in iRacing is absolutely superb. Well, head and shoulders above other sim racing titles, I think it's fair to say. So really look forward to seeing how these guys deal with it. And of course, to thank for the wet weather, you have this man, number 19. That's Peter McCann, followed closely by Nicky Charlier. Yeah, back to Peter here in the VRA racing car. 5.4K iRating is Peter, so one of the highest I-rating drivers on the service, and I suppose a testament to having a higher I-rating doesn't necessarily make you the fastest on the grid. But Peter always comes up with a surprise podium or 2 over the course of the season. So let's see how he does. He certainly has one fan in Emerald Car Shots Photography watching on. So the first laps are in. We have Dean Power, Dr. Pepper coming in with a 2:13.5, followed by Harvey Dara. Remember Harvey last week, right at the end of qualifying, snuck in with a super fast lap around Daytona. So he'll be hoping to potentially head up there as well. Dylan McClements, now we're getting towards the top of the leaderboard. McClements coming in with a 2:13.3 as guys start to warm up the tyres. It'll take a little bit longer to warm up these wet tyres, of course. So it may be a case where the laps start to get quicker as we go on further into the race. So Lee Cogan coming in 10th with a 2:14.1. Roy O'Shea in 9th. Michael Corrie, a surprise name. We haven't talked much about the eras of Autosport number 7 car over the course of the season, but it might be an opportunity for Michael to maybe get himself on the broadcast a little bit more. But here is Michael Corrie in the number 7 car. You can see another red, kind of silver and black liveried machine. A lot of red and black on the grid at the moment this year. So yeah, that will be something to look out for as we get used to the liveries over the course of the season. Usually 4 or 5 races in, we kind of have our liveries down, but we have quite a lot of replicated liveries. Of course, Peter running the Earn Tiles sponsored machine, but there are other variants of that VRA livery, which is absolutely superb. Whoever designed that, take a bows on. Here's Kevin Joyce, the number 14 car. He's gone more traditional. This is the Falcon car, of course. And whenever I look at this livery, it always makes me think of well, again, James Dean. I was thinking of the Shanahan, the other, but it's James Dean, of course, the drifter from not Santa Gary, but he's up North Cork. It's kind of Castletown Roach direction. Um, so yeah, the two boys, I think they're literally pretty much within a spitting distance of each other, and two of the best drifters to ever come out of this country. But yeah, James Dean is the one I always think about when I think of that 14 Falcon livery. Of course, going to be very popular in the upcoming Nürburgring 24 Hours, which is the next special event on the service. Of course, we just had the Sebring 12 Hours, in which Wildfire Racing, cheeky another little plug for us, finished third. Myself, Calvin, and Mark Cox in the Porsche Hypercar, having started, we literally did a back to front challenge because we gridded last, having put in a pretty shocking qualifying time, and then immediately, thank you very much, and then immediately had an accident pretty much on like the first couple of turns of the race, and then managed to bring it all the way back for a podium place. So it was a very good evening. Right, we're looking at Sean McGoldrick in the AO Racing Rexy livery number 25 car, and he's gone fastest by a country mile here, 2:11.625. That is absolutely superb pedaling from the 25 car. So Sean, he's always an outside chance. Very much puts himself in amongst the podium places, but hasn't been able to really convert it into a race win so far. So it's going to be a great opportunity for him to do that this evening. Lee Cogan up in fifth with a 2:12.496. And we were looking there at the Porsche Carrera Cup record, as you said earlier, by Julian Andlauer, is a 2:10 around here. So the fact that these guys are lapping 2:11.6 in the wet is massively impressive. Now, is the track monsoon-like? No. Is rain falling? No. There probably is going to be a drying line, which makes it a little bit quicker, but all the same, it is still moist nonetheless. 31-degree wind, that will certainly help shift some of the rain. And yeah, as you can see, pretty low hectopascals. The pilots amongst you will know that that's well below the average, and a 66% moisture in the air, only 15% track temp, so it won't burn off, will the track temp, yeah, it's going to be a treacherous one, and this is one of the reasons why. As you can see on board with Lee Cogan, the wipers are absolutely flying. Normally we see the wipers starting flapping around in the wind, but this time they're being put to good use, and you can see that rooster tail off the back of I think that is Michael Corrie in front of him. As Sean McGoldrick, no, it's Rory O'Shea goes into second place. Rory now in the High Prix number 81 goes into a 2:12.150. I know that's normally Evan's job, but he's not here, so I'm going to have to do it for him. More times coming in now. You can start to see the leaders are all starting to pass each other, and they're coming across the line. McClemens still now takes top, 2:11.602, and Dylan this is Sean McClemens actually, but I was going to say, the McClemens brothers are kind of inevitable. Like, you can top the timing tower and you can be sure they'll probably pip you by at least 5 thousandths of a second. So very good to see them. Usually a man who has the, if not equaling, is beating of the McClemens brothers is Jordan Kelly. But unfortunately, Jordan, you can let us know where in the world you are. But unfortunately not joining us on the grid tonight. So yeah, looking forward to no controller action, unfortunately, this evening from the British Formula Ford racer, but is nonetheless joining us in chat, which we love to see. We have our regulars who join us every week. He's in Andorra, actually, or he's in another name that I can't. I'm having Craig Breen country, I was going to say, but that's where he lived, obviously, for quite a bit of his life. Another person we remember as we go racing, but yeah, and I just about remembered, lads. My memory's absolutely shot this evening. You'll have to forgive me. I'm having one of those dead brain evenings. So yeah, Sean McClements leading. He is in the shot here, and he is behind his brother now. So getting the run of the toe. Those two work together all the time, and you can see Dylan now in a 2:11.8. He's hopefully going to better that is Dylan, but he's going to have to take all that wind, and it is quite a strong wind, as we said, 36 kilometers. So if you're driving into it, it will shave off precious tenths of seconds. So for Sean getting the toe here, it's going to be a huge thing. So I wonder, will there be enough time for these guys to swap? Because Dylan's going to give Sean the toe. I thought Sean might return the favour for the final lap, but it looks like he's going to keep going as Harvey Dara comes in with a 2:11.281. The young Carter certainly showing his straight line speed and his one lap speed, 23 car, or the 23 car, yeah, indeed. But whether he can do it in the race is a completely different story, and that remains to be seen. Sean McGoldrick once again going top in the Rexy machine, the 25 car, 2:11.194. So we're getting closer and closer to breaking that 2:11 barrier. Those guys are running massively quick, as Sean, I think, is going to be slightly held up there by the mistake in front of him. Is that Nicky Charlie, or I couldn't see in the car in front of him? But Peter McCann coming in. It's Mladen Strekovic, actually, with a 2:12.53. That's the best lap so far, but going off track there, he will probably not set another one. Peter McCann comes in 12th in a 2:12.496. He's about a second and a bit off the rest of the front runners. But let's have a look at the gap. I mean, the gap between Jan Zoutvela in 5th and Lee Cogan in 6th is a full second there, lads. So that's very unusual in an RTA race. Usually, what we're used to seeing is I suppose about a second across the top 10. But at the moment, you can see Tony Griffin is a second behind Michael Corey, who's 8/10 behind Dylan. So it's they're all quite tight, but not as tight as where you suppose we're used to seeing in wet running, which I suppose is one of the things that comes from a wet race. It tends to be the wet weather specialist. Normally it's Jan Zoutvela, but Zoutvela not managing to get himself up the front of the grid at the moment. The Dutchman. Let's see how he does here. He's going through that section, just coming off the back now of Beckett's and down the hanger straight towards Stowe, where of course Vale and that chicane is where Jean took flight, of course, in the Formula V's Scholarship Series. He doesn't have very fond memories of this section of track, but with Sean McClements into the pits, he had a yellow flag there on his last lap, which meant he had a slowdown, which meant his lap won't count. And yep, Jean, unfortunately, at the very same corner, makes a bit of a mess of it and has to go back to the pits. But Dylan, speaking of Dylan McClements, Dylan has just got a toe and goes top as Rory O'Shea goes into the gravel there on the outside. Dylan with a 2:11.121. So Dylan looks like our championship second place. Looks like he's going to put some real pressure on the championship this evening if he can keep things going. Here's the number 20 of Nicky Charlie. Obviously, the two of them doing plenty of battling in the last couple of weeks, but Nicky's going to be well off the pace of Dylan as we head towards the opening race. So most cards are in the garage. Lawrence de Soswa has just put in a lap. 2:14.1, that'll get him up to 23rd. Simran Thakur not able to increase his best. And Jamal Gandor rounds us off. He definitely won't be increasing his best in the 961 car. He is a good couple of seconds behind his best lap and finishes in 21st place. Right, so let's have a quick look at the standings for qualifying. We just have 10 seconds left. Simran Thakur, Jamal and Lawrence are still out of track, but we'll return back to the pits very shortly. And Jordan, I suspect he's not in Andorra for media training, but good one nonetheless. I don't think that a spell in Andorra is going to go anywhere to helping Jordan Kelly curb his cursing habit. Right, let's have a quick look at the qualifying results. Dylan McClements on a 2:11.121. He'll be joined in the front row by Sean McGoldrick on the 25 car. Harvey Darren, Rory O'Shea on the second row, followed by Sean McClements and Jan Zoutvela 5 and 6. Lee Cogan and Conor Melia ran 7th and 8th, and Michael Corey and Nicky Charlie are rounding off the top 10. Then on the 6th row of the grid, we have Tony Griffin and Dean Power, followed by Peter McCann and Mladen Strekovic, Stephen Donnelly and Diarmuid Toomey, Colin O'Regan, Dara O'Connor, Simran Thakur and Simon Hutchings, the Welshman, rounding us off in 20th position. A 30-car grid this evening. Jamal Gandor in 21st, followed by Eric Killeen. That's Bicky in number 22, who also completed the Sebring alongside Jack Wynne this weekend. Kevin Joyce in 23rd, followed by Lawrence Soswa in 24th. David Edwards in 25th, followed by Phil Upson. Then Sean Cullen. Jordan Kelly without a time. I suspect he might have just taken part in the practice session. Camto Chukwa also not setting a time in the Maffey Esports number 3 car, surprisingly. And Sean Smith in the number 25. We'll have to come back to Camto and see what happened there. But we're going to get ready to open up this 4th round of the RTA Motorsports Porsche Cup Series 2026 in association with Trophy AI, Boa Motorsports, and indeed Mondello Park, with good folks here at Gantry TV being supported as ever by the Sim Consultants. Just waiting to grid now, and the 88 of Dylan McClements takes to the grid for this opening race as the lights come on. 1 red, 2 red, 3 red, 4 red, 5 red lights. And we go racing for the first time here at Silverstone GP in the 4th round of the RTA Virtual Motorsports Porsche Cup Series. And it's Dylan McClements who blocks off Sean McGoldrick on the outside. Dylan gets a good run there. He's done enough to consolidate his first position as they head down now towards Abbey, down towards Village. It's going to be a very sharp right-hander here. Will anybody make a move down the inside? There's a couple of cars pushed to the outside. It looks like Harvey Dare is going to try and move around the outside of Sean McGoldrick. Can he make it stick? Harvey's going to have the inside now for the next corner of the loop. He manages to get in there. No big shakers so far. Rory O'Shea losing out, and Dylan McClements battling as well. Peter McCann and Tony Griffin swapping places. Simon Hutchings going down to 21st. And it looks like we've had a car off in the distance. Is that Rory O'Shea? No, it's Lee Cogan actually who's gone off. He's going to have a slowdown there. That's going to massively impact him as we see Sean McGoldrick under pressure now from Sean McClements. Rory O'Shea around the outside as well, completing that trio. Rory's going to get it done around the outside here at Luffield. Let's see, down the inside of Luffield, should I say. Around the outside of Brooklands, down the inside of Luffield, and Rory O'Shea into 3rd place. The Wexford man now, Harvey Dara, making early inroads, but he's in 2nd place at the moment as we see Tony Griffin battling alongside Mladen Srećković. That's somebody that we haven't really talked about much. Mladen, the German, he certainly was talked about when we saw him first on the grid, but didn't make as enough of an impression. Sean McGoldrick and Sean McClements, the two Seans, the namesakes, certainly coming close together there. And Sean McClements coming out worse there as cops as we head towards now the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section for the first time this evening. Rory O'Shea unfortunately has gone off on the outside of Cops, so he's going to have a slowdown to complete. Let's see if Rory can do that without losing too much time. He of course has Sean McClements behind him, and that is the last man you want behind you when you're serving a slowdown. Rory managing to get it done, but he is losing gap. He is losing a gap on Sean McClements at the moment, as Sean McGoldrick, who managed to get away from McClements, holds on to his 3rd position. No great movers at the moment. Lee Cogan down 3 places after that slowdown earlier on. Oh, was that McClements and Rory O'Shea coming together there? O'Shea managing to get ahead there, but that was quite tetchy between the two of them there at Stowe as they head down towards Club now. And Rory O'Shea, lovely fella to talk to, but certainly not afraid to get the elbows out here on the number 47 Team DDR machine. As Sean McClements goes out wide, I wonder does Sean have damage? He's going to have a slowdown now, and he's Jan Zoutfella behind him as well to contend with. The last time a Dutchman went too wide in this corner, it didn't necessarily work out particularly well for him, but let's hope it's better for Jan Zoutfella as Sean serves that slowdown as we head down for the 2nd lap. So Dylan McClements leading at the moment, up by 4/10 as Sean gets that one slightly wrong. He's opened the door now for the 16 car and closes it firmly once again. Sean, he's off the back of, as I said, a superb weekend in the Formula V's last weekend up at Kirkstown. We're hoping to get that run completed, and that's Rory O'Shea, I think, running wide there in the background. It's also Conor Mealy running widely. They're all struggling there with that corner entry, and unlike the Grand National, you don't need to go over any jumps, but you certainly do need to rein yourself in if you get a slowdown, which is what Conor Mealy has gotten. And Eric Killeen looks like he's got it as well, Bicky further down the road. Now Nicky Charlier, he's up 1 place. He's off the back of Michael Corey, and of course Nicky will be absolutely smarting after his ongoing skirmishes with Dylan McClements, who's leading at the moment. But Nicky's still in a good spot in the championship, still has an opportunity to have a final say on the where the title goes. So he'll be hoping to work his way up the grid in the number 20 machine. Dean Power losing out now to Tony Griffin and Mladen Srećković. So a bit of jousting there between them, I suspect, as the two of them go off wide there. And I think Mladen's going to have to serve a slowdown. Yes, he is, which is going to invite Dean Power back past him again. But will it open the door for Stephen Donnelly to have a go? No, it doesn't. The 69 maintains his position, intentional. Right, Harvey Dara in second position. He has Sean McGoldrick behind him now, and there's a bit of a gap now opening up between McGoldrick and Rory O'Shea. A bit of a second there between them, as McGoldrick's very much right in the toe and in the spray of Harvey Dara, having to move out there to give himself a little bit of visibility as we head down through Stowe. And in the final section of this corner. Now, of course, 10-minute opening race. We'll go through the race formalities with you in a second. A little bit late, nonetheless. Here's Kevin Joyce, unfortunately, having to do a bit of a James Dean there and whipping the car around, but certainly drifting is not what you want in this series. And the number 14 tumbles down. He's now down 3 places. Kevin Joyce started in 23rd. He's down to 26th. In 23rd at the moment is Camto Chukwa, who did take the grid, having not completed a lap in qualifying. And he's up 6 places in 23rd. So it might be an outside shout for Camto if there's a bit of carnage in this race to find himself towards the front of the grid. Once again, right, Dylan McClement's leading. He is at the front. And Harvey Dara 1 place up on Sean McGoldrick. Sean will be absolutely desperate to get that place back if he can, as they head through Aintree now and down the the Wellington Straight, this is, as Sean McClemens and Rory O'Shea continue their battle. They were banging doors earlier on down this section, and Sean's certainly not afraid to give Rory the squeeze, and Rory's just having to tuck in behind. I think that's a good move from Rory O'Shea, because there's still 4.5 minutes left of this race. There's still 2 laps left at least after this, so there's still plenty of opportunities to make a move. As we said, this is an unusually long lap when it comes to RTA. Normally we race tracks that are slightly shorter, but given the power that these Porsche Cup cars have, it seems only right to give them the full shebang. And the old Porsche Cup Silverstone GP combo is one that myself and Ronan will remember fondly from our time in Warsaw, because that is what we ended up doing the Digital Motorsports World Cup in. For those of you who remember back that far, Fado, and plenty of drama in that one. I'm not sure if there's going to be nearly as much drama in this race, because Harvey Dara, Dylan McClemens and Sean McGoldrick are lying in stern as we head down the Hanger Straight underneath the bridge here and down towards Stowe. Again, that gap is huge now between McGoldrick and McClemens. Sean McClemens just can't get the pace. He was top of qualifying for a very short period, but his brother Dylan pipped him well in that one, and has the bragging rights, at least when it comes to qualifying, and certainly will be looking to get a race win here. Dylan McClemens currently sitting second in the championship, as we said. Sean McGoldrick in third. Jack Wynn joins us in the chat. So unfortunately, Jack seems to have had an issue. He's not racing out there at the moment, and has decided instead to pull up a chair, AC Slater style, from Saved by the Bell, if any of you remember that, and join us in the chat here. Simmer Tacker is lost out to Kevin Joyce, as Rona said, showing my age there. Yeah, if the Digital Motorsports World Cup didn't show my age, that definitely shows my age. Right, Sean McGoldrick, he's trying to get a nose in there, and he's baring all of his teeth. Not the gold-plated one, following their most recent, I think it was Daytona 24-hour win, I think, AOR Racing, but Evan would know that, but he's not here. So, certainly getting in the face of Harvey Dara. Time is starting to tick away now, and Sean started in second, down to third. Not a disaster, nonetheless, for the 25 car, but he'll be hoping to get ahead of the 23, who cuts across the front from there. And Harvey's just looking at Dylan. He's kind of, obviously he has an eye on what's going on behind him, but he's certainly looking at Dylan McClemens to try and get past him. Jaxer says, PC issues. Got to make a plan of attack, but the stream looks buttery smooth. Very good. Glad to hear that. Sorry to hear about your own computer issues, Jaxer. I know that that's a very quickly closing on Harvey Dara there, Sean McGoldrick, but he can't get the move done. And Harvey just needs to hold out for another couple of laps if he can to secure the second place. But that gap now between Sean McGoldrick and Sean McClemens is starting to tumble down. It was a second. We're now down to 3/10, and Harvey now is backing Sean up into his namesake. The two of them made contact in the opening lap as well, remember. So, yeah, I'm sure Sean McGoldrick is going to be getting a little bit more tetchy and a little bit more desperate the closer Sean McClemens comes to his rear bumper. So it may result in a bit of a ascend here. Whether it'll be into Stowe or further corner will have to remains to be seen. No, Sean's going to keep his powder dry at the moment, but now he has McClemens all over the back of him, as McClemens certainly winning that battle at the moment with Rory O'Shea. Whether he'll win the more remains to be seen. And Still a lap left here, ladies and gentlemen, so plenty of opportunity for drama to unfold. We do see that some of these guys like to keep it pretty PG until we get to the final lap, and then all hell breaks loose. So let's see as we not cross the line. This is the bottom part of the circuit. This was the old start-finish line, for those of you who remember back that far. I know Kevin Joyce will know that. But we will see. Some interesting insight from Jack Wynne, and thanks, Jack, for joining us, and indeed all of your stream followers who are watching in and continue to support us here in Gantry TV as Harvey tries a move around the outside there of Village but couldn't get it done, and Dylan closing the door rather promptly as they head down the Wellington Straight. But Jack says the entire Maggots and Beckett section all hinges on pumping the car out of that last apex. I think the lads who can really get that can approach the entry way more relaxed and ready for the final punch. So let's see who has the makings of Maggots and Beckett's, because of course that's going to lead down to the Hangar Straight. Now that's not the last straight. You do have a bit of a shoot there between Stowe and indeed Club, but whether that's going to be enough to get the job done remains to be seen as Dylan comes across the line here. So we're going to come down now towards the middle section of the track. We're going through where are we now? We are at I'm completely lost. Wait, now. I'm trying to remember the old circuit. Oh, yeah, okay. Now we're coming into Baggots and Beckett's. I'm trying to remember where the old circuit starts. It starts between Woodcote and Cops. Sorry. So now we're on Maggots and Beckett's. Now let's see who can get that final punch through Chapel and out onto the Hangar Straight. Completely lost my bearings for a second there, folks. My apologies. We're looking on board with Sean McClements, but it's really the guys in front who probably have the best chance of mounting a win in this one. Darby Dara's moving to the inside. He's trying to get back past oh God, Harvey getting very slow there. That's opening the door for Dylan McClements, and now Sean McGoldrick's hovering as well. Harvey does the inside here. That's going to be music to Dylan McClements here. He's away in a He's away in a flash. Sean McClements, Harvey there gets that one completely out of sync, but manages to keep it on track. And then a little bit of bump in the background from Sean. Just a friendly tap as his brother Dylan crosses the line in a very hectic final set of corners. But for Dylan, absolutely supreme, keeping his powder dry, keeping himself out of trouble as the rest battled on behind him. And Harvey Dara, despite being very loose in that final section, did manage to get it done. Now Kevin Joyce, this is all a little bit tight from Joyce. He's all the water on the outside and trying to lunge that move down the inside. He's now lost out to not only Lawrence de Soswa, who he was originally looking to overtake, but of course a fellow Potato Nation man in the shape of Simran Takar, who across in 23rd and 22nd, 22nd and 23rd, Kevin Joyce in 24th, Jamal Gondor in 25th, and we look at David Edwards, Phillips and Sean Cullen crossing in 26th, 27th and 28th. But it's Dylan McClements who's won our opening heat this evening at Silverstone. Harvey Dara, Sean McClements, Sean McGoldrick, Chad Zoutvella, Rory O'Shea, Conor Melia, Nicky Charlier, Michael Curry and Lee Cogan round out your top 10. So let's look at have a look at our provisional results this evening. Not too many incidents, so hopefully not too much for the stewards to discuss. So it is Dylan McClements who takes the race win, followed by Harvey Dara, then Sean McClements, Sean McGoldrick, Jan Zoutvella, Rory O'Shea, Conor Melia, Nicky Charlier, Michael Curry, and then Lee Cogan. Then in 11th place is Peter McCann, followed by Tony Griffin, Dean Power, Mladen Srekovic, Stephen Donnelly, Dermot Toomey, Conor Regan, Dara O'Connor, Simon Hutchings, and Bicky Eric Clean, finishing in 20th position in the number 11 Shamrock Motorsports machine. Then the final 10, we have Campto Chukwa, who made his way from the back of the grid in the Maffei Esports number 3 kart, finishing 21st place, followed by streaming legend Lawrence de Soswa, then Simran Takar, Kevin Joyce, Jamal Gandor, David Edwards, Phil Upson, Sean Cullen, and Jordan Kelly and Sean Smith not taking to the grid. So without further ado, we have the second heat of the evening. And unfortunately, Jack Wynn's gone off to repair his computer. But I hope the rest of you can join us for this second heat as we go racing here for the second time at Silverstone GP. And once again, Dylan McClements, not as good a start this time for McClements on 88. But he comes across to cover off Harvey Dara as we head into Abbey. So, Dylan McClements leading Harvey Dara and Sean McClements. Sean certainly having a battle late on with Harvey Dara in the end of the last race, and I'm sure he'll be remembering that as we head through the opening section here, trying to get past Harvey as soon as he can. He tries to go for a move around the outside. That's not going to happen, but can he get the cut back here? Sean McClements, no, he can't. As Lee Cogan falls down, that's Eric Killeen. Killeen has had an issue. He's tumbled down the order here as Eric Killeen. He was way up there, but has fallen way back down, unfortunately. Simran Thakkar has already made up 4 places in the opening of this race. Sean McClements defending down the inside from Harvey Dara. Harvey trying to switch back, but that's not going to work here because you're coming back around on yourself here at Luffield. Of course, a lot of these corners, as you no doubt heard before if you've ever watched a race around Silverstone, this was a former RAF base in the Second World War, so a lot of these corners named in tribute to its history. Of course, a very shared history. A lot of RAF bases used, a lot of them now for Ryanair airports, and kind of feels like you're in wartime when you're traveling with them too. Right, Simran Thakkar and Simon Hutchings going side by side. Simran going around the outside, Simon going down the inside, and the Welshman making the most of the conditions. I'm sure he's very used to driving in the rain is Simon Hutchings, as he gets into 18th position. Now, a fellow man who is not so used to rain, being from the sunny southeast, Rory O'Shea. He's in 5th position, up 1 place at the moment in the High Prix number 81 car. Sean McGoldrick behind him, who's down 2 places, Sean McGoldrick. I mean, he was with an outside shout of getting 2nd position, and now finds himself all the way back in a lowly 6th. So, unfortunately, lost out there did Sean, as that's Colin O'Regan being rapidly overtaken by Mladen Srekovic. I don't know, did Colin have a slowdown in the lead up to that, but Mladen's closing speed was absolutely massive. He was like a fella on the inside lane of the Autobahn, getting past there as Sean McGoldrick still in 6th position, and it's going to be difficult for him because he has the wet weather specialist Jan Zoutfeld in front of him, and then the top 3 in front of that as well. Sean obviously battling for quite a lot of the last race along with Harvey Dara, but unfortunately fell back along. Right, speaking of the number 23 car, he is in 2nd position at the moment. You can see him there grappling with the wheel as he's trying to find the fastest line here. Now, it's hard to know whether it's raining or whether that's just spray from the car in front, because it looks pretty clear overhead, so maybe the track is starting to dry out as the thing starts to starts clear. And you can see there Harvey got on the inside of Aintree corner there, and you could see the back kicking out and Harvey having to wrestle the wheel back to the right to keep it in check. And these Porsche Cup cars notoriously rear happy at the best of times, and then when you throw a slippery curb in on top of it, they can certainly make a fool of you in 2 seconds flat. Right, here's Dean Power hanging around the inside here of Luffield. Super move there from Dean, getting past Tony Griffin in the number 21 Dr. Pepper sponsored car. Dean is a new name for me, I have to say, in this series. But he's certainly gotten plenty of stream time, not just due to his livery, but also has been quite good, has Dean, over the course of this series, and certainly one of our better newcomers in terms of the Porsche Cup series. Right, Rory O'Shea in 5th. Michael Corrie has to slow down, so that might open the door for Dean to complete another overtake, as Rory's in 5th here, and there's a gap starting to form now between the front 3 and Jan Zoutfeld. And now we saw this, of course, in the last race, but it didn't pan out when it came to crossing the line. That gap was rapidly closed again. So it is... that doesn't necessarily mean much at the moment, folks. But Nicky Charlier is up in 7th position. Nicky's up 1 place now, and he made a couple of places. He started in 10th, I think, for the opening race. So he's made up a couple of places over the course of this evening, and he's just plodding away there nicely. He is the number 20 car as he sticks a rather ambitious nose down the inside of Sean McGoldrick, and so does Tony Griffin on the inside of Dean Power. But no contact between either pairs, thankfully, as Tony has to make do with 13th position, but he'll be smarting from that. He'll be looking to get back at the number 21 machine as soon as he can. Right, there's a car got off in the background. I think that might be Simran Thakkar. It is Simran Thakkar. That's going to open the door now for Kevin Joyce to see if he can have a go off him in the Falcon machine. And for those of you wondering whether Evan made the right choice to head to the Aviva Stadium this evening, as Kevin's going to go for a move down the inside here of the loop. Can he get it done? Yes, he does. Really slick stuff there from the 14 machine. If you're wondering, did Evan Dalton make the right choice to head to the Viva Stadium? I can tell you that it finished Ireland 0, North Macedonia 0. So, yeah, I think that tells you all you need to know about that. Right, Kevin Joyce in the number 14 car. He has a bit of work to do if he's going to catch up with Dara O'Connor, but that's certainly who his sights will be set on. He has the Canadian Simran Takar behind him, and I think Simran's our only true North American in this series, because I think Nicky Charlier mightn't necessarily... He flies the American flag, but I don't necessarily know if Nicky's in that time zone at the moment. So Simran is very much a Canadian native, and I had the pleasure of meeting Simran, of course, myself at the Sim Racing Expo a couple of years ago, and quite a lot of the other Potato Nation guys as well. We had a great time, and I accidentally smashed Lawrence de Sosva's glass and almost made him cut himself, but that's okay. All right, on a sidetrack, here's Diarmuid Toomey. Diarmuid's possibly the most colourful car this evening. Diarmuid in the Lowe's Autosport. This is a IMSA machine, I think. This just has IMSA written all over it. Don't ask me what era this is from, but it looks pretty, if not vintage, certainly vintage themed, as Eric Killeen makes up a space at the moment. As Emerald Carshot says, Ireland versus North Macedonia could never beat the adrenaline-packed entertainment that is the RTA Porsche Cup Series. I think if you swapped that sentence and said Ireland versus North Macedonia could never beat the adrenaline-packed entertainment that is watching paint dry, it would still be applicable. So I'm not sure if that says a huge amount about this series. Right, Rory O'Shea in 5th position. He has Jan Zoutfeld in front of him, and he's certainly trying to get in the headlights of Jan. But the 5 of them kind of all fairly locked together. Nicky Charlier, a bit of a gap between Sean McGoldrick and Nicky Charlier. But Rory later on the brakes than Jan, and he manages to hug the corner. Jan being pushed out wide. There was a half an opportunity there for Rory to swap back and stick a nose down the inside. It would have been ambitious, but it wasn't. It was a half an opportunity there as Conor Melia loses out to Peter McCann, who is in 8th position at the moment, folks. And we didn't get an opportunity to remind you of the race format, but if you don't know, I'm sure you probably do. And if you do and you're a regular, then click that thumbs up button, of course. That goes a long way to helping us bring this to new audiences as well. But of course we have a final feature race, which is a 20-minute race, which is the top 8 reversed. So at the moment, Peter McCann stands on a reverse grid pole for the final race of a wet Silverstone. That is something I think could make for a very interesting story. Right. Kevin CSX says, let's go, Bicky. That is Eric Kelly, number 11, who's currently running in 23rd position. Himself and Lawrence de Sosva battling at the moment, with Simon Hutchings just ahead of him. And then a fine gap between themselves and Camto Chukwit. Camto's up only 1 place. I think Camto would have been looking to get a little bit further up the grid. I'm not sure whether he had issues along the way, but of course, Camto, one of our 3 Formula V scholarship winners, alongside Travis Mawhinney and indeed Jack Wynn. So PC issues this evening forced him to retire from the opening race, and we won't be seeing him until next week. Right, Nicky Charlier in 20th position. He's looking for a move down the inside of Sean McGoldrick, but Sean has it covered off here at Stowe. Does he, though? Thought he did, and then all of a sudden, mid-corner, Nicky started to pick up some serious pace, and now, I wonder, will Nicky be looking for a move down the inside? He's going to send it, Nicky Charlier. That is a day late and $1 short from the number 20 car, and I don't think the stewards are going to look favourably on that. And a very sheepish number 20 removes himself from the scene as quickly as possible. But I think that's going to catch up on Nicky Charlier, as Sean McGoldrick, unfortunately, is the snake in this game of snakes and ladders and goes all the way down to 16th position. And that is not very fair on Sean McGoldrick, who's been running fairly well this evening. And, is there going to be contact between himself and Dara O'Connor? Dara getting on the curb on the inside, doing exceptionally well there. I was expecting the understeer to take over and to just send him into the door of the 25, but did really well to hold on to it, as Sean pushing a little bit too hard now into that corner, and he just needs to take a deep breath. There's still 6 minutes left. There's still plenty of opportunity for him to make back some positions, and of course with that reverse grid pole, things get shaken up and there's carnage, and you never know where you might be at the end of that. So I would think that Sean McGoldrick will be filing a report with the stewards room. One man that doesn't have to worry about that for at least once this season so far is Dylan McClements. The 88 machine now 1.2 seconds ahead of fellow teenager Harvey Dara. Is Harvey Dara still a teenager? I believe he is. So both of these guys running at the front of the grid. The two, I was going to say karting prodigies, but I suppose Dylan is going to be stepping up into more powerful machinery soon, and I suspect that that's where Harvey's ambitions lay as well. So expect to see these guys around the likes of Kirkstown and Mondello in years to come. But at the moment, we're very blessed to have him on a Tuesday evening here at Gantry TV as we show the latest round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Series in association with Trophy.ai. You think we've talked about it enough in our lives, never mind in this series, that I could say AI, or at least put them in the right order. Trophy.ai, Bois Motorsports, and indeed Mondello Park. And a hat tip to Bois for giving us a hat tip at Wildfire Racing for our third place, of course, in the Sebring. 12 hours. Did you take part in it? How did you get on? Did anybody murder you? Are you feeling emotionally drained from the experience? Feel free to share your thoughts right in the chat section below. We want to hear from you. A chat section that isn't nearly as cursed as the F1 Academy's chat section after Rocket Powered Mohawks video. That is something that if you're not of a sensitive disposition, I would certainly not recommend you check out. But if you're able to take a joke, then he's well worth checking out. Rocket Power Mohawk brought out a video, disappeared for 10 months, and then brought out 2 videos. So we all certainly know that his videos aren't getting monetized. Right, Tony Griffin in 12th position as Sean McGoldrick tries to make his way back from that 16th place, but he's a very dogged Diarmuid Toomey in front of him in the 13 machine. He's colourful, but he's also determined, is Diarmuid Toomey. And he's going to try and hold off Sean McGoldrick for as long as possible in the 25 car. After that contact between himself and Nicky Charlier, and I suspect, as I said, Nicky may be getting a slap on the wrist for that one, but we will see what the stewards have to say. Dylan McClellan still leading, and you can see the gaps, by the way. This is a very close pack around. This is the best of the racing. I thought for a second that Diarmuid had tagged Sean on the rear right corner, but it was just a trick of the eye, as Sean now has a move round the outside around Luffield, and he's going to try and make it stick, but this is going to be dangerous now if Diarmuid keeps his foot in it as we head towards Cop's corner. Diarmuid, they're going too wide, and Sean has to leave Diarmuid go, but Diarmuid has absolutely launched himself off to this outside area, and he's going to have to serve a slowdown. Speaking of slowdowns, what a man who's just served one of them as well is Sean McClements in third position. And now he has Jan Zoutvela on his back as well. And you can see the gap. I was mentioning it earlier. You can see the gap now at the front of the grid. Dylan McClements almost 2 seconds ahead of Harvey Dara, who himself is a second and a half ahead of Sean McClements as we pass a back marker here, ladies and gentlemen, that I believe is Jamal Gandor, is it, in the 26 machine? I think it is, yeah. Jamal Gandor being lapped here. And Jamal obviously not a fan of the rain here on Silverstone this evening. Here's Camto Chukwa in 20th position. He's battling with Simon Hutchings, but Camto just... he's in the same livery as Sean McGoldrick, but certainly not enjoying the same pace as Sean McGoldrick. And Camto, I'm being told, is on a controller this evening, so that would make absolute sense as to why he's in the situation that he is. This is the sort of thing I expect from you, chat, that you would tell me. So I'm a little bit disappointed that you need to get your act together here, chat. Give me more information, because I'm too lazy to do the research myself. Right, Conor Melia, he's in 8th place, and Sean McGoldrick has gone up a spot. He's in 14th position now. Sean battling back and forth with Colin O'Regan. I think he's got the move done on the Intel Pentium processor sponsored car. Is it a Pentium processor? It's been a long time since it's been a Pentium processor. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, showing my age on this commentary tonight. It's a Core i3, which is, I suspect, not that far away from a Pentium processor in terms of the technology, but Colin in the 46 machine there, being passed by Sean McGoldrick, who's up 2 places since that incident between himself and Nicky Charlier. Right, here's Dylan McClements. He's heading through the final set of corners here for his second race win this evening, and he's been in absolutely impervious form, the number 88. There hasn't been a glove laid on Dylan McClements this evening, as he is certainly making up for lost time here. He's in second position in the championship. That will be first by the time we come to the end. And speaking of Colin O'Regan, unfortunately, the pins have come off the Intel Pentium processor, as there's somebody arriving there late in the scene going wide. And I don't think they collected each other, but I suspect it was quite close. as Dylan McClemens round Stowe now and down to Vale, and only a couple more corners for the number 88 car to get it right. Taking the racing line here. It looks like the track is dried up enough for these guys to be able to do that. As he rounds club for the final time, Dylan McClemens, and makes it 2 from 2, the 88 machine. Dylan McClemens is our race winner for race number 1 and our race winner for race number 2. And he takes a duo in this latest round of the RTA Porsche Cup Series. Nicky Charlier finishes in 6th, followed by Peter McCann, Conor Melia, and Lee Cogan. Conor Melia now will start on reverse grid pole as Sean McGoldrick. It's all gone Pete Tong for the number 25 car. What in the name of all that is good happened to Sean McGoldrick as he only crosses the line now? Let's have a look at an RTA Virtual Motorsport Porsche Cup Series replay here on board with the 26, and he's alongside Mladen Srekovic. And will there be contact as they go down in towards that section? That is really poor from Mladen Srekovic. It is really, really poor from the German. There was absolutely no way that space was ever going to continue to be there. If Gap put car certain Mena 2026. Right. Results for the second race this evening. Dylan McClemens finishing on top once again. No concerns for him. He's won this one by a country mile, followed by Harvey Dara. Then Sean McClemens rounding out a duo of Team DDR drivers in the top 3. Sean Zoutevella in the Smiley Esports, Smilla Esports, number 16 machine, followed by Rory O'Shea in the Hyper 81. Nicky Charlier in the Shamrock Motorsport with Potato Nation, number 20. Then Peter McCann in the VRA Racing Earn Tiles machine, followed by Colin Amelia in his own car. Then Lee Cogan and Michael Curry, Ares Autosport teammates, following each other, followed by Dean Power and Tony Griffin. Then Mladen Srekovic, Kevin Joyce, Simran Takkar, Dermot Toomey, Dara O'Connor, both Apex Twin Racing, love that name, machines, followed by Camto Chukwa in number 18th on the controller. Then Simon Hutchings on 19th, and Sean McGoldrick should have been a podium position, could have been a podium position, but it's 20 position for Sean. Eric Killeen in the Shamrock Motorsport, not with Potato Nation, number 21, followed by David Edwards in the number 5 machine. Then Colin O'Regan, Lawrence Ososwa, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor, Stephen Donnelly, Sean Cullen, Jordan Kelly, and Sean Smith. The last 4 of those nowhere near the pace, and Jamal, of course, being lapped by leaders, which we saw earlier in the stream. Now, let's see if we can have a chat with some of our race contenders. And here we have Dylan McClemens. Dylan, 2 race wins from 2. Couldn't ask for anything more.
No, not bad. I think same just at Silverstone and the wetting conditions. I remember last time I LV2 I grabbed pole. So not bad races. Hopefully you can keep up with the next one.
Well, you would be looking for a 3 from 3 in your good form at the moment. Second in the championship, of course, Brandon not racing this evening, and once again our thoughts are with him and his family. But I suppose you're looking to make up for a bit of lost time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always looking to try grab as much points as possible. I mean, obviously, I'm still gonna keep on trying and go for the win, but I mean, we'll see what happens in the championship. Now I have to look after the night, but I'll definitely still be pushing for it.
And obviously reverse grid now, and plenty of rain falling on the track. I suspect you're going to have your reflexes in action to make sure you survive this one.
Yeah, 20 minutes. I suppose it felt long last week, but won't feel as long now. It's a good 9 laps. I'll try be staying back. Hopefully try to stay out of chaos and see what happens.
Dylan, congratulations. 2 race wins out of 2. No contacts, no issues, no controversies. Just plenty of points for you. And hopefully we'll be speaking for you once again after the final race.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah.
So it's Dylan McClemens, our double race winner, joining us. And now I'm joined by Harvey Dara, who I first have to offer an apology for kind of without any sort of heads up adopting you into wildfire racing, and not only that, but mixing you up with Dara Halley, which is even worse considering I raced with Dara Halley. So my apologies to you both. Nonetheless, the invitation's open, and you finished second this evening. You had some great battling there, particularly at the end of the opening race with Sean McClemens. So tell us a little bit about how you're finding things this evening.
Yeah, I think actually this car really, really suits the rain. It's actually really, really fun to drive in the rain, because it's not really as bumpy or anything. So it just feels like 10 times better in the wet nearly, and then in some parts of the track really, really grippy, and then the curbs are really, really slippy, and that makes it really exciting to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw you actually. We're on board with you when you were going through Aintree there, coming onto the Wellington Straight, and you caught a little bit of that inside corner, and you almost had to go full opposite lock the other way. So like, they can burn you these cars if you get things slightly wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And especially in that last race, the tires just started to go at the end because track really wasn't wet enough to keep them cool. So that made it slippy as well at the same time, which was also really interesting. But yeah, it was really good fun.
We won't have that problem. I can see it's absolutely bucketing it down here at Silverstone, so that should suit you for the final race. I mean, you seem to like the rain.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really like the rain around this track and in general. Yeah.
Cool, Harvey. Look, congratulations. Hopefully, be speaking to you as we go on through the season, and if not, at the final race this evening. But congratulations, two great podium places for yourself this evening, and doing your championship chances absolutely no harm.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And finally, I think we're going to have a hopefully understandable Sean McClements. Right, I think we're at the 5 minutes. So unfortunately, for all of you in chat, I know a lot of people will be very disappointed not to have our regular chat with Sean McClements, but hopefully we can have a chat with him at the end of the evening. Right, so it's Conor Melia leading us out, followed by Peter McCann, who finished seventh and finished second. Start second, should I say. Nicky Charlie are in third. That's going to be a very interesting one, Nicky, who was battling with the guys at the front for quite some time. Followed by Rory O'Shea, then Jan Zoutfella, Sean McClements, Harvey Dara, and Dylan McClements. All pretty much from fourth back to eighth. We're all battling at the front there, so all have an opportunity to win this one this evening. The two Aries Motorsports, number 9 and number 10 of Lee Cogan and Michael Corey. Lee said himself, so far so good for Aries. They'll be hoping to make it even better in this final race. Then Dean Power and Tony Griffin in 11th and 12th. On the 7th row of your grid, we have Mladen Srekovic, followed by Kevin Joyce, then Simmer Taggart, Diarmuid Toomey, Dara O'Connor, Camto Chukwes, Simon Hutchings, and Sean McGoldrick rounding off the top 20. And for the final spots, we've Eric Killeen, David Edwards, Colin O'Regan, Lawrence Soswa, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor, Stephen Donnelly, and Sean Cullen, while Jordan Kelly and Sean Smith don't take to the grid, so you can kind of forget about them so far. Johnny Hollywood finally joins us in chat. Johnny says, howdy doody. As we go 3, 4, 5, and it's lights out. We go racing for the final time, as plenty of wheel spin there from Nicky Charlie, or you can see he's got off to not the greatest start. Neither has Conor Mealy. He's bogged down a little bit, as it's absolutely torrential rain here as we head towards Abbey for the first time in this final race. 20 minutes, of course, folks, so plenty of time here for these drivers to make up some positions. But Dylan McClements is herring in there already. He's got it ahead of Jan Zoutvella as the front three are battling. Simran Takar's had an issue. He's fallen down the grid, as has Dara O'Connor. Michael Corey's had an issue, unfortunately, the Maiden Air Sports, as there's an incident in the background. They've all bunched up, and it's Conor Melia who comes out in third position. Dylan McClements in second. Jan Zoutvella and Peter McCann. Peter now down from second to fifth already. Nicky Charlie are down 3 places as well. They're the big losers in that opening lap as that incident going through Aintree. We head down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands here as an inside line from Nicky Charlie. He's very aggressive here, is Nicky, in this torrential downpour, as Dean Power tries to stay down the inside of Peter McCann, but the door's closed on him in the Earn Tiles sponsored number 19 car. In the meantime, Rory O'Shea in the Hypre, he's absolutely flying. He's up 3 places and he's down the road. Dylan McClements is up 6 places and we're only half a lap in, and already Dylan has a great opportunity to go 3 from 3 here this evening. Nicky Charlie are now behind Jan Zoutvella. Nicky's down 2 places and will be kicking himself, no more so than Peter McCann. Fifth, down 5 places into 7th position at the moment for Peter. After that, bit of an accordioning effect there through Aintree, as somebody must have made a mistake, but Rory O'Shea down the road by 1.7 seconds. A very unusual start to this race. Already massive gaps appearing in the front three after that error, and some cars who started in the reverse grid, right down the reverse grid, are way up the top. So some cars massively benefiting from the mistake earlier on. Right, we're going to have a look at Nicky Charlier now. He shows his lights down the inside of Jean Zautvela, and Jean, I can see, has a little bit of damage on the rear bumper there, so I think he's got a tap already. Whether that's going to translate to performance, we'll have to see. Is Conor Melia? Oh, Conor's gotten that one wrong coming out of there, and that's opened the door for a whole host of cars to go past him, including Nicky Charlier and Sean McClemens, who he's battling with. And a little tap, and then Nicky Charlier comes through to add insult to injury. Jan Zoutfella now up into third position. He's up 2 places, Jan. He's had a roller coaster opening lap. Just 2.5 minutes in here, and I'm out of breath already with all the incidents that's happened so far. I don't think we're going to get an opportunity to even look at that incident in the opening lap because there's so much going on at the moment. But Conor Melia is in 7th position now, having started on a reverse grid pole. Very disappointing as Kevin Joyce sticks his nose down the inside there of the loop. Now we come down through Adrian once again. Oh, big contact there between himself and Dean Power. A bit of a door-to-door action there, and Kevin, I suppose Dean made a little mistake, and that opened the door for Kevin to come in, and now Dean's made a mistake again, and that's opened the door for Simran Takkar to come through, and he's going to be followed by Darragh O'Connor as Sean McGoldrick has a slowdown, and the bad evening goes to worse for Sean, who's once again battling with Mladen Srekovic, the man who turned him around at the end of the last race. Now let's have a look at that. Here's Conor Melia. Melia is just having a disastrous final race here. Having been so consistent and clean, he gets on reverse grid pole, and it's completely gone off the wall here for Conor Melia. Let's have a quick look at a replay there from Conor Melia to have a look to see. As well, we'll come back to your chat comments in a second. Here's Dylan McClements going down the inside of Jan Zoutvela. As this is the opening lap incident as Jan goes down the inside of Dylan. Oh, that's Conor losing it, I think. Conor losing it on exit, and then he hits into Peter McCann, and then that completely loses all of McCann's speed, and then that just backs everybody else up. So Conor really struggling, particularly on exit here. I'm not sure whether he's picked up damage now in the interim. Right, Jan Zoutvela in 4th position. He was one of the people caught up in that incident, and now he has Sean McClemens for company. Sean going to go down the outside, a touch between them, and they fire off into separate directions, and Sean is going to not... Sean wasn't making that corner if it was in next week. The 47 machine managing to hold it enough to stay ahead of Harvey Dara, but yeah, also going off of Simran Takkar, and looks like the track is really treacherous. If you're not in the right part of the track, you could be sent off. So look, it's going to be an instant-filled race, I suspect, folks. This is definitely not how it's going to finish, as we're 5 minutes in. As we said, 9 laps, but 9 laps of absolute carnage here around Silverstone as another car goes off in the distance. That is Mladen Srekovic, and that'll be good news for Sean McGoldrick, who can pass him without any incident. The two of them coming together, of course, in that last race, and I suspect Srekovic will be in front of the stewards for that little tap in the backside. Right, Jan Zoutvela down the inside, but loses all traction on that curb, and that invites Harvey Dara to come down and make the overtake. That's good work from the 23 machine. He's back up 2 places now as Harvey finished in 2nd place in the last race, started in 7th as Sean McGoldrick. Bad night for Conor Melia, even worse night for Sean McGoldrick. Let's have a look what happened there. Once again at this Aintree corner, and it's McGoldrick going in here to the loop, and he's okay here for the moment. Gets spat out wide, and here's Mladen Srekovic for the 2nd time this evening. Puts his car in a gap that never existed in the first place, let's be fair. And I'm surprised Sean was actually driving a normal line there, given what happened in the last race. I thought Sean might just close the door there, and that's very disappointing. And all of a sudden, he's actually the Rexy car. Oh, there's another touch, and that's Michael Corey getting spun around there by Simran Takkar, Dermot Toomey, actually. I almost put it on the feet of Simran Takkar, but it was actually Dermot Toomey. That one I can understand a little bit more. The two of them going too wide into that corner, and you're always going to have a little bit of understeer going through there, particularly with the wet weather conditions, and just the slightest of taps, unfortunately, and that's very disappointing for the number 7 Michael Corey, who's gone way down now, Michael. I'm not sure what happened to him after that, because he was still running a reasonable position, but he's gone down to 25th now, as smashing the inside curve is both Rory O'Shea and Dylan McClements. And Rory at one point had a 1.5 second gap. That's down to 0.3 of a second, ladies and gentlemen, as we head towards here. Right, Johnny Hollywood in the chat. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Johnny says, only joining now is Adam McCauley and I were installing the engine in the RTA scholarship car. Ladies and gents, we are looking forward to that massively, and hopefully we'll have more content for you with that over the course of the season on Bois Motorsports. But I'll wait for my good friend Evan Dalton to defrost himself and maybe take his head out of the oven before coming back from the North Macedonia game, before telling us next week. Right, Kevin Joyce in 8th position. Let's have a look at himself and Peter McCann. Kevin is a great benefactor of all this. He's up 8 positions as Kevin, having had a bit of a mistake in the last race. He's made up for it now in the Falcon Tyre. First quarter, 14 machine. Kevin in 8th position. That would be great if he was in the last race, but not so good if you're in the feature race. It does not much good to you as Kevin hits the curb on the outside, and the inside tyres have traction. The outside tyres have none, and the car turns back to where it came from to give you a good look at where you just arrived from, as Kevin goes off in the back. Evan says, on a bus with irritating drunk people, so no idea what you're saying, Kev, but I'm sure you sound great. Thanks, Evan. That's the unbridled positivity that I need in my life. As without Evan here, I certainly put the commentator's curse on. I don't know if that's commentator's curse or if that's... Well, I did actually, because I did say how many place teams. I was going to say it's more of a director's curse because we were looking at him, but it is actually commentator's curse, to be fair, so I can't blame Ronan Edmund for that one. Right, Stephen Donnelly getting passed by David Edwards for 20 and 21st, and Stephen seems to have had an issue because he's tumbling down the order now. Jamal Gandor getting past him, and I suspect Michael Corey will go past him as well. And as Emerald Carshot says, yes, indeed, poor Michael Corey had a very good race in Heat 1 and Heat 2. Indeed, did Michael, and that happened through no fault of his own, in fairness. Was doing nothing wrong there, Michael Corey. So definitely bravo regardless for Michael Corey. Very good race in race 1 and race 2, so has a lot to be proud of himself for. This man is also can be very proud of himself for his opening 10-minute stint here. Rory O'Shea, he is still leading by 0.5 of a second now. Dylan made up that gap very quickly, and you could see the gap between Dylan and Nicky Charlie, right? This is a 2-horse race in all senses of the word. 7 seconds now almost, the gap, and increasing all the time between these two. So the two of them could just work together and then eventually have a last lap shootout, because if they work together and they make up a 8 or 9 or 10 second gap, even if one of them spins the other around, there'll still be enough time to get yourself back on track and finish in second place. So whether that'll happen or not, I'm not entirely sure, but Dylan certainly is very happy, I imagine, to consolidate his position, because he's won the opening 2 races, and he is in second place at the moment as Harvey Dara gets past Sean McClements in a move there. And Sean, I'm not sure if Sean had an issue, as Peter McCann now had a big issue. Was that a red flag I saw for Peter McCann? He certainly had a yellow flag, Peter McCann, as he served that slowdown. But he doesn't have a penalty here, does the 19 machine. So he's been overtaken by Dean Power, but managing to stay it. I'll keep it on track. Johnny Hollywood says he's just on a bus with a stone cold sober Sean McClements. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Sean, ooh, that is Sean McClements. Speaking of being all over the road and being drunk, Sean McClements doing his best drink driving impersonation there by finding the curb on the outside, and that is Peter McCann being sent to Narnia on the outside there. And you can just see, folks, how little grip there is through the track here. Like once you're off that racing line at all, especially through those high-speed corners, you just have absolutely no grip, and you just understeer completely to the outside of the corner. There's no chance of saving it. 11 minutes in, Rory O'Shea and Dylan McClements still leading, and look at that gap now, 7.5 seconds between himself and Nicky Charlie. This could be a runaway first and second place, but who will finish first? That remains to be seen. Here's Dara O'Connor. He's very brave, battling with Mladen Srekovic, given what we've seen so far this evening. as Sean McClemens and it's Sean McClemens and Harvey Dara, very similar liveries to Nicky Charlier, but Sean McClemens and Harvey Dara coming together, and Sean just giving Harvey the squeeze there on the outside, getting the work done as Dean Power. Dean's having a great race in this final race, the number 21 machine, up to 6th position, battling with Jan's outfit as Lee Cogan has served to slow down there in the background. Jan now has the inside for this Abbey corner and does enough. That's actually pretty good racing from both of them, particularly from Dean Power, just to hold off there, because he could have been headstrong and stuck the nose in there and ended up having contact and sending himself onto the barrier, but he just did enough to lift, and knowing that Jan had the corner, did enough to let him have it. Now, Rory O'Shea already already extensively defending. He's not actually. He's coming across Dylan McClemens. I was going to say this is the equivalent to putting the ball into the corner with 70 minutes left to go. And I'm sure Evan Dalton knows all about that, having just watched Ireland this evening. Rory O'Shea managing to stay ahead of Dylan McClemens for the moment. Nicky Charlier in 3rd place. Chat, it's about time we hear a little bit more from you. We've heard some get involved. Our own commentator Evans even getting involved from a drunken bus. So if he can do it, then I'm sure you can too. Let us know your thoughts, especially your thoughts of driver of the day. We're getting to that point of the evening where we're thinking about driver of the day. Here's Jan Zoutvela in 7th position. He's going to have a slow... No, he doesn't have a slowdown, interestingly enough, actually, Jan. Must have served it while he was off track as he comes back on there through what was the opening corner of the old section as Conor Amelia once again gets squirrely on the outside, and Connor's just not having a good time in this Porsche Cup car at all this evening as he goes down the inside of Sean McGoldrick. Here's two boys that would not expect to be battling for 14th place at the beginning of this evening. Here's Rory O'Shea. Rory just seems to have the pick of the lines really around this, and Dylan, even though he can get close, he's going to have to go offline and into some of this treacherous stuff to get past Rory, unless Rory makes a mistake. And that's not going to be easy. So I think the thing about these conditions, as Graham's Racing Channel says, it looks like the weather is getting worse. It is. It's absolutely heaving it down here in our commentary box. And it looks like it's going to stay that way for the rest of this race. So it's only going to get wetter and wetter. Now, of course, that means we don't have the issues that was pointed out to us by Harvey Dara about the tyres going off in the final couple of laps. We does bring the issue of potentially bigger and bigger puddles. Conor Amelia gets that one all wrong again, and I feel bad for Conor because we've kind of looked at all of his low lights in this final race, but he's actually had a superb race. As Peter McCann, unfortunately, Earn Tiles haven't paid the broadband bill, so Peter dropping in and out of this one, but hopefully the connection will stay in his newly adopted home of County Mayo. I know the internet up there is patchy at best of times, so hopefully he's all right, certainly being affected by the rain that's falling this evening. Conor not having the greatest of races in the final race, but had some good races in the opening 2 races. You don't get to reverse grid pole without having some good form, so unfortunately Conor just kind of not happening for him in the final race. As Emerald Carshot says, looks like an average day in Galway. Certainly, I think if somebody asked you what did January 2026 look like in Ireland, you could just show them this and they'll pretty much accurately describe it. Stephen Donnelly going for a move down the inside as Dylan McClemens goes into the lead, and we just caught the end of that one as Dylan gets past there. Cops, very brave place to get it done, but he's on the outside of going into Maggots and Beckett's, and Rory O'Shea getting that move done. They're going to come together. No, they're not. Oh, that's about as tight as a duck's backside as the two of them managed to get past each other, and Rory holds on to the lead. Superb racing from these two in absolutely atrocious conditions, but superb driving. Thankfully, both of them getting away with it. Evan Dalton says, have Nicky and Dylan caused carnage yet? No. I think Mladen Srekovic is the number 1 contender for Carnage driver of the day this evening. But no, Nicky and Dylan haven't resumed their rivalries because Nicky just hasn't laid a glove. Nobody's laid a glove on Dylan McClemens apart from this man, Rory O'Shea. And it's Rory there getting squarely on the outside of the entrance corner. He just took a little bit too much off it, got a little bit greedy there on the entrance, lost the cars on the back end, and then was forced to bleed off some of the pace to get through Cops. But Dylan then didn't get the right line going through Maggots, ended up going straight through it, and that opened the door for Rory to retake the lead again. So you can just see how important having the correct racing line is, and Dylan had it Then, like a sand through a weather timer, sand through a timer, sand through a sand timer. It just ebbed away. Right, Harvey Dara, after that absolutely atrocious analogy, has a meatball flag here. So he's going to have to come in for the pits. And unfortunately, that's going to signal the end of the 23's interest. 2 podium positions in the opening races. Kevin Joyce has a black flag. So Kevin must have had an absolutely appalling time of things, whether that's from not serving a slowdown or I suspect maybe instant points. 20 instant points, of course, in this one. Dylan McClements, Sean McClements, should I say, Nicky Charlie are battling. Well, Sean's actually battling Dean Power. He's way off the podium positions, which I know is of a big disappointment to those of you who love a good Sean McClements interview. We didn't get around to him in the opening slot, and unfortunately, it looks like he's not going to get around to us for the final slot. Conor Melia also has a black flag. Conor, I think we know why that is, and that's certainly due to instant points, and very disappointing for the number 56 car. Showed great pace in the opening couple of races, but just a disaster here in this last one. I think the rain certainly got the better of Conor Melia in this final race, as we have the reason why Harvey Dara, should I say, has his meatball flag. Let's have a look at this as we head into the final lap here of the final race of the 4th round of the RTA. Ah, dear. Oh, goodness. So that would explain not only why Harvey Dara has... but Deanie Mac almighty, Harvey Dara. That is not great at all. Both of them. Like 2 young pups in a primary school playground going at each other. But that is not great from Dara Halley. Harvey Dara. Jesus. Harvey Dara. But that explains why both Harvey Dara and Sean McClements won't be anywhere near a podium this evening. And Nicky Charlier will be very happy to see that. So at least one McClements brothers has done Nicky Charlier a favour over the course of this series. We're looking at the other McClements brother, and he's all over the back of Rory O'Shea. I think this may be our last lap. I'm almost positive it is our last lap, actually, because we've just gone past the start-finish straight for the final time this evening. And Dylan McClements, you can see there is no number 1 on your track map, and that's because Dylan McClements is so close to him. So McClements all over the back of Rory O'Shea, and then 11 seconds behind to Nicky Charlier, is only just taking the loop corner now. Harvey, almost considered you for driver of the day, said Emerald Carlshots. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen now, but we do want to hear about your driver of the day, ladies and gents. I have an outside thought of who it might be myself, of a man who is battling up in the top 5 this evening, and we haven't seen a huge amount before. That is the number 21, Dean Power, who looks like he's going to go for a move on Sean McClements. Can he get it done? Let's have a look here. This could be for driver of the day for Dean Power. He gets pushed onto the curb, and now he has to battle with Harvey Dara, who has a meatball, of course, so anything could happen here with Harvey. Covers the inside, does Dean Power, as we head down towards Woodcut and across the original start-finish line here at Silverstone. Running the GP circuit here. I mean, if you don't know at this point, you're probably legally blind and maybe also legally deaf. But it's kind of a bit of a departure for us. We usually just race the national circuit. So it's nice to get the other side of the track that we get to commentate on as well. Right, here's Dylan McClements. Round the outside, can he do a Slim Shady on Rory O'Shea? Let's see. 2 Trailer Park Girls go off the track, and Rory O'Shea keeps his position. And it looks like Rory's going to do enough to get a race win. Superb driving here from Rory O'Shea. Oh, Dylan with a very late, ambitious lunge around the outside. Thankfully not collecting Rory O'Shea in that one. But Rory O'Shea, superb driving from the 81 Hyper machine. Up 3 places and managed to hold on. He was away in a shot, and he's held on to that first position to beat our race winner for the opening 2 races, Dylan McClements, for his race win this evening. Nicky Charlier comes home in 3rd. Harvey Dara just puts a little bit more damage to his machine as he pushes Jan Zoutfella off track. That's not the greatest overtake of all time. And Tony Griffin in 8th position. Lee Cogan in 9th. And Peter McCann crossing the line in 10th, followed by Simran Tacker, Darragh O'Connor and Sean McGoldrick. And Sean, 13th position, is better than what it could have been. But unfortunately, due to the man behind him, Mladen Srekovic, it could have been a whole lot better as well. Dermot Toomey in 16th, followed by Stephen Donnelly, then Eric Killeen, Michael Corrie. Unfortunately, Michael, who was an outside shout of driver of the day, or a very good shout for driver of the day until that instant later on. David Edwards, Colin O'Regan, Conor Melia, Lawrence de Soswa, and Phil Upson in 24th position. He's the last car on track. I think all of the rest of them have gone off. Kevin Joyce, Jamal Gandor, Sean Cullen, Simon Hitchings, all off the track. And of course, Jordan Kelly and Sean Smith not taking to the grid this evening. So that is our concluding our final race of this evening. Let's get a bit of classified results so we can run through everything for you before we speak to some of our drivers. We give out our driver of the day and we wrap up before next week. Right, Rory O'Shea winning our final race in this fourth round of the RTA Porsche Cup Series. You can ignore the graphic there. Dylan McClements in second in the 88 Team DDR machine, followed by Nicky Charlier in the 20 Shamrock Motorsport and Potato Nation. Sean McClements, second of McClements brothers, certainly won't have the bragging rights this evening. He lost out to his brother in all three races and indeed on qualifying as well. He is in fourth position, followed by Dean Power. Then Harvey Dara, Jan Zoutvala, Tony Griffin, Lee Cogan for the Aries Autosport. That's another great result for Lee Cogan in number 9th there. Peter McCann rounding off the top 10, followed by Simran Thakkar, who made up a huge amount of places. Simran Thakkar, let me see there. Simran up 4 places. Dara O'Connor up 5 places. Sean McGoldrick up 7 places, but could have been so much better for the number 25 machine. Mladen Srekovic in the 69 car. I suspect he may have 69 penalty points come the end of this evening, but that will be for the stewards to decide. Camp Chukwa in 15th place, followed by Dermot Toomey, Stephen Donnelly, then Eric Killeen, Michael Corrie, David Edwards. I know we run through this before, but we'll do it again for posterity. David Edwards, Colin O'Regan, Conor Melia. What a disastrous final race it was for Conor Melia. Lawrence de Soswa, Phil Upson, Kevin Joyce, Jamal Gandor, Sean Cullen, and Simon Hutchins rounding out those drivers who actually took to the grid. Right, let's have a chat with our race winner, Rory O'Shea, who joins us in the commentary booth. Rory, congratulations, first of all. You were, I suppose you started off in 4th position and then you really benefited from all that incident in the going through Aintree and down the straight. And at one point you were a 2.5 seconds, but I'm sure you were sweating when you started to see Dylan McClements come back at you.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I knew from the minute I saw him behind me, it was going to be a long race. And to be honest, I expected him to get past me in a few laps and run away with it. But I actually managed to hang on to it somehow, despite all the pressure he put me under.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously it was absolutely treacherous conditions, and like it's easy to gain time, but it's much harder to pass because the fact that once you get offline, you're kind of you've nowhere to go. You just lose all traction, and it's very hard to get past.
Yeah, I think you saw that when he did get past me briefly. He was kind of offline going at the Maggots and Packets, and he just understeered, and I was managed to snip back past him. So it was incredibly difficult to overtake, obviously, because I think if it were dry or something, I think he would have walked away with it.
I mean, incredible racing between the two of you through that section. And did you get a sense that, like, obviously you probably a little bit too greedy on the entry corner and then lost a little bit of the back end, and then you kind of had to give up the position. But did you get a sense that if you put your 81 Hyper machine in the right place, then like you'd kind of almost force him to go around you?
I think so. Like when I saw him kind of pull past me, I briefly thought he was gone, but then I just realized I had to kind of stick the nose in and put him under a little bit of pressure, and he might make a mistake, which is incredibly rare for Dylan, and I was lucky in that case that he did.
Yeah, and he certainly had a few lunges at the end. You weren't worried there about some of the late last lap heroics?
No, I was pretty confident in being able to defend it, like the corner at the end of the straight. You know, I was confident if I just stuck to the inside there, that I'd be able to kind of pull the gap on the corner, because that was probably the one corner where I was faster than him, and that was probably the most important one. So I was actually pretty confident enough that I'd be able to keep it by the end.
Brilliant, Rory. Well, congratulations. You mastered the treacherous conditions here as we have a look at your incident with Conor Melia there, which is something we actually missed. I thought Conor lost it on his own, but I think you gave him a bit of help there, Rory, did you?
I believe there's an incident in for it, so it'll be discussed.
Right. Well, look, our provisional race winner anyway. I'm glad we caught that at the end. But look, Rory, regardless, a great drive and superb race between yourself and Dylan there at the last stretch. So congratulations, some superb driving. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Right. Well, that was very interesting. Did not realize that was great timing there from Ronan Hedeman in the background. Fair play to him. Right, let's have a very, very quick chat with Dylan because we had a chat with him already and we'll move on to our third place. Dylan, we'll keep it very brief, but you were ahead in that race for about 0.3 of a second, but you just couldn't hang on.
Yeah, I saw Rory made a mistake. I tried to get through, and I was on a line I don't usually use, and just outbraked myself. So, it's still a good race, though. To be fair, and fair play to Rory.
Yeah, I mean, superb result for you. 2 first-place finishes and a second place. I mean, it's pretty much almost perfect. And I think the thing is, and I was saying it in commentary, I suppose you might back this up, that like it's easy to gain time because the road, the conditions are so bad, but it's actually it's very hard to overtake because the minute you come off that kind of preferred line, you just lose all traction.
Yeah, like I was struggling to just like try to find a chance whenever I was up beside Rory. The line I was on wasn't the best. It was actually, I don't know if you've seen on the onboard, but the spray was quite hard as well. So I was trying to. There's some laps I backed off because of the spray, but some laps I was like right under it, so it's hard enough.
Yeah, no, we saw some of the onboard stuff and it looks really, really, really difficult. We're just having a look again here now. But look, Dylan, 2 first-place finishes and a second-place finish. You're certainly right back in the shake-up for the championship standing. So a really good evening for you. Congratulations. And I am sure we will be speaking to you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, cheers.
Right, so that's our second interview with Dylan McClements. Gives you an indication as to how this evening has gone. Let's have a chat with our third place finisher. I think this is the first time we've gotten to speak to Nikki Charlier this evening. Nikki, first of all, huge congratulations. I suppose qualifying didn't quite work out for you in the way that you might have hoped, but really consistent all the way through the 3 races, and you got your reward there in the final one.
Oh, we're talking to me. Okay, cool. Yeah, finally got on the podium there, but it was a bit chaos, especially at the start of that last one. Surprised to make it out alive, to be honest.
But like, I suppose, look, as I said, you like qualifying probably a little bit behind where you wanted to, but there's great opportunities to overtake and move up through the grid, especially in these conditions.
Yeah, I was a little bit lower than usual, but I'm not a rain master. I don't think I've done any races on iRacing in the rain, really, maybe 1 or 2. But yeah, the skill divide was a bit more noticeable this weekend with Dylan and Rory steaming off ahead, and I was just keeping it on track, which is kind of what got me there in third.
Well, I mean, look, there's no doubting your overall pace. You've been rubbing shoulders with the front of the grid all the way through this series, and like we're 4 rounds in, kind of halfway through the series with a couple of more dry races on the go. So I suppose I'm sure you'll be hoping to speak to us again before the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm feeling I should have been here a little bit more than I already have, but through some of my own mistakes and through some other people's mistakes, it hasn't really happened yet. But yeah, we'll just keep going along. Just keep having fun. Try not to crash.
Yeah, well, look, easier said than done, I think. And
Especially there.
comes from personal experience. But yeah, look, I mean, what are your hopes for the championship? I mean, look, I mean, obviously Dylan and Brandon and Sean and those types are look, they're so consistently quick. But like with the drop round, even I know you said you should be here, you should have already been here, but like there's still what 4 rounds, that's 12 races to go, so there's still huge opportunity left for you in the series.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Penalties coming in last minute is a big deal breaker from where I am. I think I'm 4th right now, and people are right behind me. The other 2 are probably a bit far to catch now, but yeah, probably see if we can lock out a 3rd place finish in the championship. But that kind of depends on what luck comes my way and what luck comes everybody else's way, to be honest.
Well, they do say it balances itself out in the end, so hopefully the second half of the season will be a little bit luckier for you than the first, Nicky Charlier. Thank you so much for joining us in the Shamrock Motorsport with Potato Nation. Can see the sticker on the roof. Number 20 machine finishing in third position. So, Nicky, look, congratulations. Great to speak to you for the first time, and no doubt we'll be speaking to you again before the end of the season.
Yeah, great. See you later.
In third position, now there's only one thing left to do, and I'm going to invite Roden Hedeman in with me for this final decision, and that is for our driver of the day. Now, we've got a couple of people being put forward, and Michael Corey was certainly a contender that could have been in the running, and I feel it's a little bit harsh not to give it to him based on an instant that he didn't really deserve to happen to him. But in saying that, I think Dean Power has been such a consistent performer all the way through and finishing off at a top 5 position. Dr. Pepper was up the top of the standing. He was the first man to go top of the standings in qualifying, and he's been a consistent presence at the top of the grid all the way through the evening. So congratulations to Dean Power, our Gantry TV driver of the day. So that rounds off proceedings here at Gantry TV. Ronan, Dean Power, great performance from him, and some other really good results from up and down the grid, and certainly the wet weather shaking things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we come to expect from this grid. I love throwing a wet race in mid-season just so that you can see where there is drivers out there that are just like it was mentioned earlier, they're rain masters. They know how to drive in the wet. Dean Power being right up there, Lee Coogan with the P9, and then you see drivers that are obviously aren't as comfortable in the rain, the likes of Connor Melia, who had a disaster of a race, and it just came down to the conditions, and like that last race was probably the worst conditions we've had so far in RTA. But yeah, speaking to all the guys beforehand, they love this. Like it was a real shake-up. The laughing that was going on, it really makes for a great watch.
He does, and no doubt, well, maybe doubt, but I suspect we may have another one of these. Whether it'll be this bad in terms of weather, we'll have to see. Right, that rounds up things here from Silverstone. We're back across the Atlantic as we head to the state of Wisconsin and Road America for the fifth round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Porsche Cup Series 2026. That is the 7th of April, folks. You'll know that as being more commonly known as next Tuesday. That'll be Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. Don't forget RTAVirtualMotorsports.com for all of the roundup of everything that's happening in the series, and indeed get your names in for the latest series. It is inevitable, death, taxes, and another round of another RTA series. So do get your name down for that, and you can get to see how things are fixed up following this evening's results. Also, Bois Motorsport, you can follow them on Instagram, Facebook, social media, and they do some great stuff as well. Evan Dalton, who's missing, my partner in action tonight, but he is always updating the Bois Motorsports with all the best of Irish motorsport news, both domestically, internationally, and indeed in the virtual world. So do follow them there. And of course, Mondello Park, it's getting brighter. The clocks have gone forward. Great opportunity, no better opportunity to have a look at their website and book yourself an experience if you're interested in racing some motorsport action yourself. Right, that is all from me and indeed Ronan Hedeman flying solo this evening. Hope you enjoyed my company. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat for getting involved, and to have your eyeballs, do click the thumbs up button and subscribe to us if you haven't already, and we'll see you next Tuesday at Road America for the 5th round of the RTA Porsche Cup Series 2026. Slán go fóill.